Hello, everyone. Hi. True Blood
Streamily.
Streamily. We could hear everything.
Yes, absolutely.
It's happening. We're getting ready.
Hi, guys.
To do our live. Hi, welcome. Join. We're also excited to have you. I'm here. I have Regina. I have
Streamily.
Mariana and Kristen.
/
We're all very excited. We're going to talk a bit about the show. Oops, sorry about the jumbles. Talk about the show. We're gonna sign.
We do need a reboot. We need a reboot now.
I do also have Daredevil picks to sign. So if you want to go to the shop at streamily.com/trueblood, you'll find all of us. And we can get things.
I cried for real that day.
All right, hello, hi. Great to see everybody. Yes, let me know questions if you have any in there. I'd love to hear your questions. We're also going to do a Q&A here. You can watch that on YouTube with all of us, or here individually here. I think we're getting started. Hi, everybody, and all the hearts, all the hi Karens. Yes, hi.
Queen Sugar is not coming back.
Where am I from? I am from
True Blood,
Brooklyn, New York. Born and raised in Brooklyn, and then moved to LA for college and stayed for work. So that's been cool.
Type it again. Yeah, that's
Let's see.
So now, love it.
This is crazy, guys. I never realized. It's like,
Yeah, this is my first time.
We're all, none of us are very experienced. None of us are very experienced at the whole Instagram live thing. So we're all kind of trying to make it work. Jessica, yes, hello. Hi from Colombia. I'll never be not interested in True Blood. Oh, that's so sweet. I'm so glad you
thank
like
you
it.
to those
Favorite
who are
color?
watching True Blood. Classic.
I think I'm a blue. I love blue. I wear a lot of blue.
We're also about to go live on YouTube.
I paint my rooms in blue, so that's probably my favorite
We're going to do some
color.
autograph signing Purchase your friends ahead of time. The link is in my bio.
Where's Kratos? We did that last weekend, so we did the God of War signing.
Sorry.
Oh, we're gonna get quiet. We're quiet.
Sarah Basta in the house.
Sarah's
Yeah,
here.
I'm here. I'm at the live.
Okay, so just hit the button and then you're good.
Oh, no, I guess we're trying to figure a way to put the...
Hey,
Yes, so type it in the comments right here. Streamily.com. Is it forward slash or
What is
backslash?
this? What is it?
/Trueblood.
.com. Okay.
Oh,
Streamily.com
Streamily.com /Trueblood.
I love my accessories too. Thank you very much for the Apple Watch. Apple Watch. I love it.
And then
Sometimes you gotta take it off.
and then hold down on the comment.
Hold on, I'm getting this thing going.
She has a ring light.
Did we go live tomorrow? and Deb.
Doesn't matter.
I think that's that. Okay, I think I put that in there.
Okay.
All right, everyone.
Is everyone feeling good?
I think so.
We're going live.
We're going live on the YouTube.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Okay.
Hello, YouTube.
Hello, everyone, and
Hi.
welcome to the True Blood cast reunion signing. Hi. I'm supposed to be off camera.
No, right now on YouTube,
my
guys. So I'm
goodness.
just gonna have this conversation.
You guys can just ignore Steven for a minute. He's just
Ignore
talking
Steven.
to himself. Poor Steven's in New York. Sam's in Miami, and we have the ladies of True Blood right here in Los Angeles, California. Say hello to Kristen Bauer and Mariana
Clavido.
and Tara Buck. Hi. And Rutina Wesley.
What's up?
And Deborah Ann Woll.
Hi.
And
Hello.
of course, remotely, Sam Trammell and Stephen Moyer. Hello, everyone.
Hey guys. Hello everybody.
Everyone missed my crying, you guys.
It's okay. It'll happen again. We're not worried.
So, is this the first time you guys have actually connected in a while? I mean, the show was so epic. You spent, almost a decade together, seeing each other almost every day, and then to walk away from something like that is really hard. How do you guys stay connected, and is this special to be here in this room together?
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
Okay.
Well, yeah, Kristen and I can
Okay.
go first, I guess.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
go first because I'm crying again. but always, right, Stephen?
Always crying.
Always crying.
But we do the podcast where I just talk to all these people and cry. So
Yeah.
and Deb keeps the thing on the
I keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, she keeps us on the right lane.
But yeah, if you don't know about it, it's called Truest Blood. You can find it on any of the platforms. But we've spoken to everyone here and everyone there, and more to come. It's just one of the greatest decisions. Janina Gavankar got us to do it. She set the whole thing up. You know her as Luna from the show. And yeah, it just means we get to reconnect with everyone and talk about this wonderful time in our lives that I think really meant so much to all of us.
Yeah.
It's really one of the greatest decisions I never made to do it myself.
And you were so fabulous, Stephen. I mean, that was a hard interview to cut down to the time we had allotted, because
That's because Moya never stops talking.
no, it was just every second.
But it's also
And he
all
continues to
fascinating.
refer to himself in the third person. That's always strange to cut around.
Completely wrong.
It gets confusing.
So we're going to talk True Blood for the next 20-30 minutes, and after the True Blood panel, the cast is going to sign personalized autographs for whomever would like one. You can go to streamily.com/True Blood, true-blood, to grab a print before they run out. And each of these actors is also live on their Instagram. So after the YouTube panel, cruise around to the Instagrams and say hello. I guess let's start off with this, Stephen. What was your initial reaction when you read the pilot episode of True Blood?
I had decided, I'll try and do this story as fast as I can. I had decided to sort of stop doing pilots because I was so disenchanted by the whole American pilot system.
Amen.
And I had been fired from a pilot on NBC at a table read, which a whole bunch of everybody on that pilot that I was on got fired.
Oh my God.
And I went back to the UK and I said to my manager, I'm never going up for anything in America again. I'm done. I'm happy. I've got a nice career in the UK. And she then, like a week later, said, okay, I trust you. I believe you. Whatever you want. There's one pilot you've got to read. They want to see you for it. And it's by Alan Woll. And I said, okay, it's Alan Woll. Of course, I'm going to read that pilot. And I read that pilot and I put myself on tape the next day. I still believe to this day that it's one of the 5 great scripts I've ever read, and there's a couple of reasons for that. It sets up a tonal atmosphere in that 55-minute pilot that sets up a world that I'd never seen before, and does it so authentically and so beautifully, with comedy, with sadness, with this kind of this world that is so like our own but completely parallel and different, and I just never experienced anything like it, and I just thought it was wonderful. And when my mum said, you're going to America to be a vampire, I was like, yep, I'm going to go do it. And she went, do you think it's going to work? And I said, yep, it's going to work. It's absolutely brilliant. And I never ever doubted it. I don't know about anybody else, but I never doubted it.
Kristen, what about you? What was your first reaction to reading the script, and how did you approach the character?
So I didn't get to read a script because I was...
You were crying.
I was crying too hard.
Because your tears went into the paper.
My tears went into the paper. Or maybe they gave me a script and I'm, not good at doing my homework. But I think what happened from what I recall was that, so they had filmed 3 episodes and then went on strike. The writers went on strike. Mm-hmm. And I was off trying to work doing things overseas because that's all we could do. So I was in the Philippines. And right before I had left, I read for it, but they put together kind of an interesting, odd combination of those Pam one-liners. And they didn't kind of go together, right? And then I had no other information except it was Alan Ball and HBO and Vampire, and I was like, I'm good, I'm in, I'm down, I want to do this. I had read for 6 Feet Under a lot and never booked it. And so I went in and I put on my, I just knew that nobody hires this blonde, blue-eyed thing. No one sees that as tough, ever, 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 ever. So I knew I was up against it to play like one of the tougher female characters. So I made up that voice and I put my hand on my hip.
Nice.
Which I never stopped doing. Right, Stephen? So that was a good joke recurring joke that Alex, Stephen, and I had. And they're like, we're going again. Put your hand on your hip, Kristen. So I did that, and then 3 weeks later they called me back, and I read again for Alan Ball again. And I was like, why? That means you did something right, but they're unsure. So you probably did something right and something wrong, and you won't know what is what. But then I was in the Philippines, and they texted me and said, I got it. And because I've been fired so many times, and this business is hard, I have a good ability to completely forget every audition pretty much closely after I leave. And so in the Philippines, they said, like, right, you have, it's a self-protection amnesia. And the producer on the movie said, we got to get you back the day after you finish. You have to, I'm going to cry again, because, like, this is just, I'm going to be so dehydrated by the end of this. But, like, remember, Stephen, because that was my first day. I'd come from the Philippines.
Yep.
You know, they texted the producer and said, she got True Blood, and I said, what's that? And they said, she's scrolling, it's HBO Vampires. I was like, oh, right, shit, I wanted that. And then I land in Long Beach outside Fantasia, and we're, running down that alley trying to fly, and I've told this on the podcast, so I won't bore everybody. But it was this crazy night of filming where we were exhausted. I didn't know what country I was in. And Anna, at one point, she started laughing, that great big laugh of hers. And I look at her, and she's laughing at me, and she goes, you should see your face. Because I was like, what the fuck have I gotten myself into? I thought this was a big budget show. It wasn't that night. And we were bonded, for 7 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Who else wants to share their origin story?
I want to hear Sammy's.
Yeah.
Well, I read the script, and it was, at the time, like Steven said, Alan Wall was really hot. Just had 6 feet under.
Yeah.
He had American Beauty, and it was really the best script that was going around.
Yeah.
And I read it, and I think I wanted to play everybody but Sam. I think I wanted to play a vampire. Then I think I wanted to play Jason. They're like, but somehow I got the role, and then I immediately, before we shot the pilot, or right before we were about to shoot it, I broke my nose surfing, and I had 4 or 5 stitches in my nose, and I'm like, I'm gonna get fired, I'm done, like my career's over, like it's but it ended up being fine, and it's Kristen, for what you were saying, I remember my first call time was 3 a.m. Like, day 1 of shooting, they were like, we're going to give you a call, like, it might be midnight, we'll call you, and they just set the time for the next 20 years, like, call at 2 o'clock saying, yeah, you'll be in an hour, at Warner Brothers. And we shot a scene outside of the exterior of Merlot's, and with Anna. And Rosina, you might have been, I'm not sure if you were there or not, but for sure Anna. But yeah, that was my thing.
That was your origin story. Well, Rutina, were you there?
Yeah. I can't. No, I feel like. Wait. I feel like my first scene on set was us and Merlot's, Sam. I feel like it was a bar scene. But I have a very interesting story because I replaced an actor, and it was weird for me walking onto a set that was already established and everybody knew everybody, and so I was super nervous, especially to meet Anna and everybody, and I just didn't know. I just didn't know that I belonged. I was fresh out of college. I just had no idea. But I'm gonna cry. I walked on that set and everyone just had their arms open, and they were like, we love you. You're welcome. You're great. So I was able to really get in there and do the things I know I could do without feeling like I had to prove myself. Like, everybody just kind of welcomed me. And me and Sam, I remember Sam, like, we really kind of connected right away. Like, I feel like our connection was always strong from day one.
We had a New York thing.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. And then Anna was like, we became kind of really, really, really close very quickly because she just accepted me right where I was and was just happy that I was there. And that means a lot to you. And I think a lot of young actors sometimes, like, you don't know how much it means to actually walk on a set and feel welcomed and feel like that's where you belong. And I really felt this with True Blood. And I think it's one of my favorite families I've ever had in my entire career because everyone was so genuine and incredibly talented, but genuine, good people. So I'll never, like, forget that. Like, I'll tell that story for the rest of my life where I just, like, walked on and was like, this is it. This is, you know what I mean? And I'm having fun. Like, this is fun. So it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Well, I mean, even just putting this event together and seeing how you guys interact, you can tell, like, you truly got along. You were a family. Like, and everybody's just so, like, generous, I would say, is a good word for how I've found all the cast members to be with each other and with us. Mariana, what is your sort of origin story with True Blood?
So I was brought in just as a guest star for season 1, and then it was like guest star possibly recurring. TBD. And I had my first night was a real doozy, Steve, if you remember. It was the scene where I make you, and we were in that cabin. On the Disney
lot. I'm gonna let you tell the story because then I'll work out that.
I was lucky that I worked most of all of my scenes were mostly with Steve, and he was just such a lovely, generous scene partner, and was always wanting to take care of me in that way that lovely actors do. Of he's a brilliant director, and so I always got the benefit of that. Of like, lift up your chin a little bit. You would sort of always know the little things that, most actors don't tell each other because we're too focused on ourselves. But he was always so lovely. Thank you, Steve. I love you. But so it was like freezing. I don't know. It was like 40 degrees or something. And I'm in a corset. Everybody else is in like, puffers
Parkas,
and around like ears, and I'm in like a corset with like a prosthetic neck that has like a blood rigging thing. And it's like my first day, and I'm so scared that I'm gonna screw up, and they put it on too early, and then it was like leaky. I don't even remember all of the things that happened, but it was like an 18-hour day.
It was 18 hours.
Yeah.
And it was we got there at 6 and we wrapped at midnight.
Yep.
And then we had
Welcome to the
12-hour
show.
turnaround. The actors, just in case you don't know, everybody, the actors get a 12-hour turnaround. They asked if they could break our call, which they did. So we got like an 11-hour turnaround, I think, and we got back to work that next day. I want to say they called us even earlier than I think we went back in at about 9 or 10.
Wow.
But we did another 18 hours.
Wow.
And so we started at noon the next day, and we wrapped at 6 a.m. 18 hours, and then we hadn't finished, and they only had the Disney cabin for that day. So at 6 o'clock we left, and then we went back that night, Mariana, and we did another 10 hours that night.
Yeah.
It was and finished at like midday the next day on Thursday.
That's like 46 hours.
It was wild.
Is my high
It's
school
the
now
longest
working?
walking 3 days I've ever had in.
Yeah.
It was wild, but I will say I find those scenes to be some of my favorite. Like I think that the look of it, the feel of it, the different sort of emotional, I don't know, the orchestration of it, I think it really worked. So I guess ? It was worth it.
Well, I mean, you two did, aside from the baking scene, you did have other pretty famous scenes, the twisting of the head around. So just quickly, before we hop over to Tara, why don't you talk about, some of the more challenging moments or some of the more fun moments with filming?
I will say that scene that you're talking about is so outrageous. He is so angry with her because of something that she's done that he climbs on top of her and starts attacking her, and then ends up, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on YouTube, he then ends up inside her, and then because he can't bear to look at her, turns her head
It's great. It's so great.
So many dates have ended that way.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Art imitating life.
Yeah, I will say that they didn't know how they were going to do that, what was going to work necessarily, whether it was going to be CG, whether it was going to be practical. So they made this dummy. They did like a full double of me, and she was like hanging out on set, half naked, which was weird because it was me. And then so Steve had to do scenes with her, with my dummy.
If anybody's ever seen Boxing Helena, that movie where the actress has the lady has her arms and legs cut off, and she's just I had that Mariana.
You preferred her, probably. But, wow. That was a long day, too. I remember that was a day where I think we had, it was, I don't know how many hours of simulated sex. And I remember you finally were just like, guys, I got it. Like, I think
Another left, guys.
How many different ways can we shoot this?
Those are good times. So, talk about iconic scenes, Tara. You have the Scream scene, which we really worked on getting a product for that. That'll happen the next time. But yeah, talk about that, and then your origin story with the show, and just if you could share a little bit about that scene. I think that people would like to hear how it was filming.
Well, I also was a guest star. I came in as a guest star in the first season, and had heard rumors. Everybody was talking about the show, and of course because Alan Ball and vampires, but there was a lot of secrecy around it, and so nobody really knew, like on the street, like nobody knew really what the show was about. So I had done a pilot with Greg Feinberg that didn't go anywhere, and I ended up coming in for Ginger, and first of all, she was the way I played it and the way I remember sort of the character description was, she works at this biker vampire bar, and she's strung out, and she has a lot of attitude. And I was like, okay, great.
I got this.
No problem. And so when we went and we shot at Alex's in Long Beach, and I show up at night, and we're in the trailer. I don't know anyone or what's going on. In the trailer, Alex walks in with the weirdest, long, blonde, creepy wig you've ever seen. And he's just kind of cruising around, and everyone's just like, and then we go on set, and within, an hour, there's blood everywhere. I'm throwing up mushroom soup, long shadows getting staked.
That was intense.
Yeah. It was just, and it was incredible. It was like christening by fire, By the end of the night, Anna is completely covered in blood. I'm completely covered in blood. And I'm screaming because you would, as a human. You would scream. And then it just became a thing, Then every scene I did from there moving forward.
What was so amazing, did they say in the script, like, she gives a blood-curdling scream?
No.
But that's
all
amazing.
Tara.
It's because it was so perfect.
Yeah.
And remember, you were crawling around in the goo. It was really, we all had a fascinating start.
Yeah. And it was like, because you kind of go through all of that stuff in your first experience on set, you bond with everybody. Mm-hmm. I just remember by the end of the night. And I didn't know if I was coming back.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But it was like, whatever that was an amazing experience. And every time I got called, I was like, oh, I'm not dead, and I get to return.
Yeah, right. Start by drinking warm tea with honey to get ready for your screaming. Yeah.
Well, it was the next season then when they brought me back that I had a scene with Nelson, and in the bar in Fantasia, and I'm supposed to be guarding, I'm guarding Fantasia, right? So I come out with the gun, And that was the first time I sort of chose. I was like, now, like, she's a screamer. You know, she like screams at the gun, she screams at the dirty rags. Like, it's all about her all the time. And yeah, it like became a thing. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, last but not least, Deborah, let's talk about Jessica.
Okay.
Jessica's journey.
Jessica's Journey. That sounds like a game you could buy on
Right?
an app.
I
Jessica's
mean,
Journey.
Jessica's Journey. How did you come into the character, and what was your initial approach to the material?
Right, so I guess I'm the latest edition of everyone here. I was the end of the first season, so I also did not get a script. I just got my scenes, and I was being made into a vampire, and then the surprise twist was that this very innocent girl who, protested being made a vampire, actually it was very freeing for her because of the very repressed life from before. So I remember, like, I'm a sciencey person. I get excited about things like that. So my first thing was like, oh, this is a world with predators and prey. We don't live in that world anymore. Like, human beings don't walk around worried about getting eaten by a bear, right? So we have those instincts in us, but they don't express themselves in the same way. So I wanted to think about that like, I ended up watching a lot of videos of like animals attacking other animals. That sounds really crazy, but in nature and what that experience is like. And I remember finding one of a deer, and what was interesting is there was the initial fight, the extreme panic fight, and then when it was kind of clear they couldn't get out, they relaxed. And it was a fascinating thing that I would never have thought of without having done that research. And so that was Stephen and I. Oh no, we lost Stephen. So my first night was jumping out of that Camaro in the junkyard, surrounded by actors who had more experience than me, who were more well-known than I was, all of the things. And having this really intense scene where then Bill bites me, and I remember I was so glad to have that direction go. This is gonna go more into the animalistic crocodile brain of who these people are, because you're in that kind of a situation. And then just go and have fun with it from there.
I'll never forget that table read. your first table read.
It was so heartbreaking.
It was so.
These were so heartbreaking.
It was.
And you were amazing. Deb, you were so beautiful. Like, I was like, who is this? Who is this young woman coming in here? Like,
but the same thing, right? Like, you come in feeling like I am no one.
Right.
These are all these really important people. I better show up with my A game and bring everything I've got. While, as we all know, once you've been in it, you're like, oh, casual. This is just a table read, so you're not thinking on that same way. So
you killed that.
Yeah. So guest stars almost always come in and kill things because they're ready.
But it's so true because we used to have our table reads for the whole 7 seasons.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys. You complete, and Rutina, I'd be interested to know if you had this on Queen Sugar. But I have not worked on another show that had a table read every single lunchtime. There was the following week.
Yeah.
We would be doing a table read at some point during our lunch. And I always ask, are we going to do table reads for this? And no one ever has. And
oh, that's wild.
It's like that for me too. It was like that on Queen Sugar. We had like one. We'd have that first one, and then it just was, and I missed it because there was something about getting together once a week. And coming together,
Sometimes you're seeing folk that you haven't been working with.
Yeah.
It's the only time I would see so many people.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And also at those table reads, you have the art department, the costume department, the grips, the lighting, the everybody from the camera department. Everybody comes to those table reads, and there used to be, sometimes there would be like 100, 150 people in that room. And to your point, Deb, yes, we're all there sort of doing lunch stuff. Because everybody goes in with their lunch boxes and everybody's going, oh, you got a chicken?
Right.
And the guest stars are like quiet and like waiting.
Whilst you're eating your noodles. on not noodles, because Sam and I didn't eat noodles for 7 years. Because everybody else was just
Angry.
Yes.
I know, it's very hard.
To have our own.
I'm on my own Instagram.
Okay, everybody on the chat, I've tried to join. I don't know how. I'm sorry.
But we're just on our own.
Yeah, they keep asking.
So,
me.
what-
I know.
Well,
Don't
so I'm
degrade
sure
us.
someone will
Scream.
leave in the chat how you joined, Steven. So just keep reading it, and one of the friendly.
It'll pop
I
up.
tried to sign in with my Google account. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So what? This is actually a really great point. There's so many people watching this. So many people are still really passionate about the show and interested in following each and every one of your careers. What do you think it is that resonates about True Blood? Because it is, a genre show. It's not a procedural. It's definitely, sci-fi. And what do you think fans connect to?
I feel like they connected to it. I mean, again, I think I'm such a fan of Alan Ball's, but I feel like he has an incredible ability to always blend real human emotions, experiences, grounded in reality, simultaneously with something fantastical. And very few shows, if any, ever do that successfully.
Mm-hmm.
And so it has, I think, this wonderful otherworldly thing going on, and yet it really felt dangerous and sexy and real. And I mean, I was thinking about when both of these scenes you guys were talking about, I remember watching them because I didn't shoot any of those things, watching them on TV and thinking, when your head, that sex scene and your head got turned around, I was like, what is this show?
Yeah.
I was like, what is going on? My aunt in Idaho was like, ah! But it was so exciting. It was so exciting because nothing was being done like that. And I think that's in your first scene. Incredible.
Tara, I think that what you're saying is so. I think every one of us. I think one of the things that the writers did, and one of the things that Alan was able to do, that doesn't happen a lot. I don't think, sort of across the board, is that everybody had stuff. If your
Yes.
if your
Yeah.
stuff was,
That's
if your
literally
stuff
what I was
was
saying.
working,
Yeah.
in the show, they would write to you. They would write to it, and I have been picked up, and sitting with Sammy, Ryan, Anna, Nalsan, I think, and I think you were there, Rutina, even though you weren't in the pilot, and there was one other person who it's probably ridiculous that I'm blanking on who it was. But I want to say there were 6 of us, but we sat in like Alan's office or an office off of Alan's, and we watched the pilot together.
Oh yeah.
And it was a pilot that was not quite locked in yet. We had to reshoot Rutina scenes. There was some bits and pieces of Louisiana that weren't there yet, and there were a couple of like plate shots that weren't in, and the sound hadn't been done, and the music was still kind of being played with. But I remember watching that episode and just going, I have never seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing I think that we were all shocked about, in answer to the question, the thing that shocked me was, and you just touched on this, Tara, was it was scary. It was when stuff was vicious, it was really vicious. When it was sexy, it was really sexy.
Mm-hmm.
But this was my abiding feeling, was that it was so funny. And when I read the script, I remembered smiling and laughing, but we were laughing out loud in that pilot. And one of the things that I've a recurring thing for me over the years, when somebody just stopped me the other day and said it, like even when the show was in its latter seasons, and this happens to all shows where you're still trying to find material for those characters, and it becomes a little bit, Scooby-Doo. Our show did become a bit Scooby-Doo.
You said it, Steve.
It was still fun. And the other thing that worked about it was that when you got to the end of an episode, you always knew that the next episode would begin where that episode left off. So when you finished the episode, you were in this kind of cliffhanging moment where the next episode was going to start exactly where you just were. And and this was obviously this was in a world before there was binging. This was in a world before you could watch it straight away. You had to wait a week.
Right.
And people would have parties together to watch it.
Yeah.
They still made edited recaps last week on True Blood. Was like one of the last shows that still did that.
One of my.
And I know I've told this story before, guys, but when Anna and I went to the, I think it was 2011, but it might have been 2010, the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and Anna and I were invited as guests of Newsweek, and we sat next to Jon Favreau, not the director Jon Favreau, but Obama's speechwriter Jon Favreau, who does Pod Save America, if anybody listens to that podcast. Brilliant podcast, by the way, John, if you're watching, which you're probably not. But I was sitting next to John when Obama was doing the speech, when he roasted Trump, in that famous time and the cameras cut to Trump sort of reacting really badly. But it was afterwards that we were all talking to them, and they told us that the reason that we'd been invited to the White House Correspondents' Dinner was because during the primary run, Obama and his entire team used to watch on a Sunday night. So they'd finished their week of war and campaigning and knocking on doors and all of that stuff in Chicago, and then on a Sunday night they would all get together at 9:00 in Obama's house, and they would all sit and they would watch together before they all went home at the end of the week, which is just unbelievable, isn't it?
Well,
that is unbelievable.
That's the coolest story.
If the Obamas are watching, go to streamily.com/YouTube and buy some pet
So
shop.
Barack, as I didn't get to see you that night, you want a signature, just...
Here, right here.
We could probably arrange a free one for Barack, and Michelle.
Make that happen.
You could probably
For sure.
That's amazing. Up until now, I always thought the most iconic thing an actor could have was an action figure or a musical episode. But now I'm going to change that to the Obamas Love My Show. So you guys win. Really quickly, I do want to go back to the podcast and talk, Kristen and Deborah. What was the impetus behind you guys creating the rewatch? It's obviously really popular. Everybody's coming, and you're having great cast members come on, but what was the initial, tell me about the call between you two, who pitched who, what happened?
Well, it was Janina, really, who came up with the idea and then pitched us on it.
But it's so funny because she pitched me.
Yes.
Because we did a panel similar to this, and at the end of it, she goes, "Kristen, I'm calling you right now." And the panel ended, and she called me. I'm gonna cry. This is getting ridiculous.
Oh, Kristen.
Even more ridiculous. And she goes, "You need to do a True Blood panel." And I went,
Podcast.
And I went, okay. So then we called Deb and said, "Do you want to do it with us?" And she was like, thought. And then she goes, "Okay, I have questions." And I was like, I probably should have asked questions. That's a good idea to ask questions. And she had really good questions. And every question she asked, I thought, right, I do wonder about that. And after this 30-minute really intense call, I hung up the phone and thought, wow, I really need answers to those, actually. And then Janina went off, and we didn't know what was really happening, but she sold it to HBO.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah, she sold it, which is amazing because it means we can pull clips from the show and we have more access to things. And then Jace Everett, who wrote the theme song to True Blood, wrote us a special sting where he says "Truest Blood" because he's incredible. Yeah. We have an interview with him on the very first season. Talking to actors is spectacular, and we always love doing that. But no offense, talking to the people who don't normally get interviewed, Suzuki Ingerslev, who did our sets, Jace, who did the music. These are things, we all have sort of heard each other's stories, and we do interviews a lot. Talking to them has been an absolute privilege to just hear the amount of work that went into the show before we even got cast or showed up on set, and then the amount of work that happens after we leave, and what a deep appreciation that gave. And so what it turned into for me was not only getting to reconnect with everyone, but getting to share with the world all those untold stories. So that when you watch something, it isn't the accumulation of work that has gone into that, and the appreciation one can have.
Guys, Woolbridge and Baxter are watching this.
We saw Sarah. Yeah. And Woolbridge is too. Yes. Yay, hi guys.
Speaking of that,
hi ladies. Yes. So that's been a real pleasure to get to hear their stories and what went into it, and why we had such a rich world to play in.
Yeah, every single person.
Yeah.
It was, I think, I'm very biased, of course, but was the best of the best.
We have not spoken to a slacker yet.
No.
Yeah.
You couldn't, I mean, maybe there was one that, got weeded out at some point because you just couldn't be with the hours that you two experienced and we all experienced, and everyone was the best of the best.
Yeah.
I think that, again, I might have told this on the podcast, but when I directed the first episode, which was episode 8, season 5, and I had been shadowing people, but I had not, and I'd been in a few rooms and I'd been watching, and I wasn't allowed to really speak, and I, which was really tough for me, and I had this fantastic episode where actually Sam got to do some amazing stuff in my episode with Janina, actually, we were just talking about. I had to take my very first sort of tech recce, and then we do this production meeting before the show goes out, before we even start shooting the show. And this is to Deb's and Kristen's point. I would sit there and listen to, like, Tom the prop master tell me about the things that he had created or built or made or wanted to make, or the way that they wanted to create a backdrop. Or Suzuki would come to me with colors of what she thought the backdrop would be for a specific scene, and then Audrey, the costume designer, would come with a costume color that was in, because she'd been talking to Suzuki and how making sure that the colors of the costumes didn't clash, and the way that things worked like that. Yeah. And there was a scene where Joe Manganiello had to hit somebody with a rock, and Tom had created like 18 styrofoam rocks, which ended like, which size do you think would be good for Joe? This one. I mean, Joe's got some big hands. Do you think we should? And you're just, and I remember like the chains that had to go around your neck there.
Yeah.
There were 14 chains to choose from, and just the amount of work that those people put in is, you can't believe it. We were also lucky enough to be on a studio where the carpentry department was next to our studio, because we took over the whole of this lot in Los Angeles. And so we would be able to walk past Billy and all of his team where they were creating the sets and building them. And you could just walk through that carpentry shop. Do you remember that guy?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And watch them build the next set. It was extraordinary.
This is kind of a generic question, but it's always a fan favorite. So I do want to ask, Sam, we'll start with you. And I'm going to you, Rutina, next.
Okay.
Favorite episode that you were in, or favorite episode that you were not in, either way, but if people have a favorite episode from the show, I think we'd like to hear which episode that is and why.
Oh my god, well that's a tough one.
Like an 80-something episode.
I think my favorite season was maybe season 2. I feel like we were exploding by the end of the season.
Yeah.
Like, it was so, everything to me was so surprising and innovative, and the way the show, we talked a little bit about it before, but just the way the show bridged different genres. You know, it had the Southern Gothic thing happening, and then the comedy and the sexy and scary. One of my favorite shows that just pops into my head that I got to do was where I got to where my brother turned into me. Shifted
Yes.
into me. That's how it was. So I got to imitate Altman.
Yeah, Marshall.
Yeah.
Marshall. So that was
That was incredible.
That was a lot of fun.
But once they found out you were a good mimic, I feel like they just threw that at you. Yeah, they went with it.
Yeah, then I did the Janina one, which I don't know. One of the directors came. It might have been Glayman or somebody, and they're like, you might want to pull back. We're not going to go all the way.
You might want to pull back.
Oh, no.
That's like such a universal code.
I know.
That was a fun one.
And we did that shot in the episode that we did together, Sam, where we did that 2.5 minute shot where you actually
so bizarre. It was so bizarre. That was really bizarre.
I had this shot where Sam's acting with himself, where he's playing Janina, playing him, and I wanted to do it in one shot, so we used this thing where it's called a motion control head on the top of the dolly, and the dolly records the shot, which the cameraman operates, but the camera is physically recording the movements that the cameraman is making, and it was 2.5 minutes, and then once it's recorded and we're happy with the shot, the dolly then exactly records it repeats exactly what just happened, and Sam was playing the version of him in bed that was the ill version, but Sam was laying on Sam's leg while Sam was talking to Sam, and so we had to cast that lovely actor. I can't remember.
Did I have to kiss myself? I don't know.
You didn't have to kiss yourself. You were just about to kiss yourself.
That's really weird.
Martina, favorite?
Yeah, that's hard. But I have 3 things. So I have to say all of season 1, it's my favorite.
Yeah.
Because we're all established there. And then I would have to say Tara in the UFC, like cage fighting.
Yeah.
And then becoming a vampire and getting to like be a gargoyle and like tear up shit in the kitchen. I got to tear up the entire Stackhouse kitchen. And that was like so much fun. I was buried alive. Like I would never forget. You remember that night, Kristen, when we did the dirt? And I was like,
I did it too.
You could have put
Very few of us. We've been buried alive. Steven's been buried alive.
Yeah. It was the same because I was like, so the whole shovel of dirt
just
is all
do
gonna
it.
be on my face. Okay, and you're gonna count to 3. Okay. I remember being like so scared. It was cold, but we had like so much fun. But that was like fun for me because Tara got to go through so much, a huge journey, and I think being able to like hit all those different points was like just so challenging for me as an actor and like fun because sometimes you get a role and it's just flat lines. But like Tara's like duct taped to toilets. She's chasing like Franklin's trying to kill her. Like all these things. It was just like I loved it. I felt like it was like one big play, and I got to just like really like create all these little parts of myself in these layers. So it was so much fun. Yeah.
What about Mariana? What about you?
Oh, and the pole. I got to be on the pole. That's right. Tara on the pole. Okay.
Carry on. Never forget the pole.
Yeah, never forget the pole.
Me too, baby Cerberus. Sorry.
Gosh, that's a tough one because I got so many. I feel like I was kind of spoiled with the flashbacks. Maybe the 20s flashback, Steve, because you got to like sing and play the piano, and we were in those amazing costumes and
Yeah,
the wig. It was incredible, and we were in this amazing house. I don't even know how much they changed that house. Like it felt like we just walked in and started shooting in. It was like a sort of historic building near downtown, and the whole day was just. We kind of got to be lost in that one because it was all sort of practical stuff, real set, and it was just so different from a lot of the other stuff we did. So I think, and romantic and scary and fun and.